Morning. What up, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson? And so last night's debate moderated three-person panel of moderators, Bret Baier, Chris Wallace, Megyn Kelly, and Bret Baier was the only one who was not accused of being mean to Donald Trump by Donald Trump. Which
he wasn't victimized by him.
It was nice. It was,
yes.
it was nice. And Bret Baier got the debate off to a rousing start by asking an important question about supporting whoever the nominee is. And the reason it was important was twofold. One is because Republican primary voters want to know. If we're going to have a spirited primary, that's fine. But invariably, not just this race, every race, they want to know, look, hey, you're going to support whoever the nominee is after this primary, because then we need to consolidate and come together the way the Democrats do. And so Republican primary voters want to know that's going to be the case. And the second reason it was important is because Trump has been all over the map in terms of whether or not he is going to do what the other candidates said they would do, which is support whoever the nominee is. And so you didn't know what Trump was going to say. And boy, did that start the debate off in a rousing fashion. And we're now joined by the aforementioned Bret Baier. Bret, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Great job last night. I mean, I thought you all three of you did a great job managing 10 candidates, managing the time. A lot of great questions asked. No, if you were a flower, what kind of flower would you be? As you promised you wouldn't. And it was actually a lot of fun. And the other thing I thought was great, you guys restrained yourselves. Megyn Kelly didn't interject when Donald Trump went after her because she recognized this is about the candidates. When Christie and Paul got into that exchange, you let that go for a little while. I thought it was just managed beautifully, really.
Well, thank you. It's not easy to manage 10 candidates. The most we'd had was 8 on the stage. And really the biggest challenge just behind to lift the curtain is to make sure that everybody is getting as equal a time and questions as you can. So, we thought that starting with that electability round where we just gave everybody tough questions about their vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and you did such a great job. I mean, even Anderson Cooper, I don't know if you heard this, but after the debate last night, Anderson Cooper gave you kudos, Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace kudos for asking such tough questions.
I mean, that's nice. We worked on them for a long time. And, we're getting hammered by some quarters of the Republican, folks that, think that we were too tough or that we should have just let it air out on and hear everybody on the same issue. I think, this is the way that we're going to get through these early debates, at least at Fox, is to come up with tough, pointed questions and ideally have them, interact with each other eventually.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way. I mean, otherwise, if everybody answers the same question, then you get by the time you get to the third or fourth person, everybody's just saying "me too." That's not interesting. That doesn't provide any opportunity for differentiation. And I think the way that it worked out yesterday is you had every one of the candidates had their moment, whether they had 6 minutes or 8 minutes. They had their moment. Most of them delivered a memorable line or two. And so I think that's testimony to the fact that it was managed quite well.
Well, thanks. I think you're right. I think every one of them had a moment, and some of them had more moments than others. I think Senator Rubio had a really good night. If I was to stack them, I think John Kasich had a pretty good night, and clearly is in the top tier. Frankly, I think Chris Christie had a decent night, parrying back and forth with Senator Paul, and I thought that was a really fiery exchange early in the debate.
Who do you think walked away being in last place? Or who didn't impress you last night?
I don't know how it'll turn out, with people. I think, it was. I think it was a tough night for Donald Trump. He was going to get tough questions. I'm not sure that he had the best responses to some of those pointed questions. And people think that we, were going after Trump or something. It really, first of all, the first question is really what was on, as you mentioned, Dan, a lot of people's minds. If he doesn't win, is he going to become Ross Perot? And we tried to structure it in a way that, there could be an out. If he chose to not, engage on that, he wouldn't raise his hand. But he raised his hand, and, I pressed him on it, and he talked about it.
Yeah, it's always difficult to kind of gauge who is triggering interest in the mind of the electorate when you have so many candidates on stage. I thought one of the interesting analyses, this was in the Washington Post, was that in the first hour of the debate, the candidate that generated the most Google searches was Ted Cruz, actually.
He also had a really good night, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that are kind of thinking and pretty facile on their feet are going to do well in that format in limited time, and Cruz is one of those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Cruz may be the Huckabee of this cycle. I don't know. Remember Huckabee was pretty good on his feet in 2008. Cruz clearly is comfortable in that environment and was anxious to get more questions. Kept coming up to the moderator desk in the commercial break, asking when he was going to get another question. And someone's in my ear, my producer, during saying, "Okay, we're heavy on XYZ. We need to go to XYZ," and that's happening real time.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very interesting to note that. Now,
inside baseball, I like it.
One of the other big winners from last night was on the undercard, and that's Carly Fiorina.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so she performed quite well and is receiving high marks, and I wonder how that factors in, even sans the kind of composite averages of the surveys at this point, in terms of thinking about future debates or candidate forums and trying to find a way to get somebody that performed well like Fiorina and is generating more interest into that mix,
Yeah. The whole debate about national polls, I mean, there's so much focus on it, but I think today, after seeing, what we did yesterday, that it's kind of an old story. I think Carly Fiorina clearly shined. Mm-hmm. She was very impressive in that early debate with Bill and Martha, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the top tier going forward. I think, we tried to make sure that everybody knew that we believe that any one of those candidates on either stage could be President of the United States, could be the nominee, could be President of the United States, and we tried to incorporate some of that 5 p.m. debate into the questioning of the 9 to 11.
How did you feel about Jeb Bush's performance? Because I saw him as, he just didn't seem authentic to me. He looked like an empty soul. His answers were robotic. How did you feel about him?
I don't think he had the best night. I think he, an average night. He had some good answers, but I don't think it was the best night. And I think he's going to have to do some cleanup after that to get back in the spotlight. He clearly has the money and the power to be able to elbow his way into the top tier whenever, but I don't think that was his best night.
Yeah, I just don't think debating skills are in the Bush family DNA. His father wasn't particularly good. His brother wasn't particularly good, although he had his moments. But it just doesn't seem like they translate well in those kind of formats.
It's tough. I mean, it's a tough format to get comfortable in. You're never comfortable. I mean, in 1 minute, those lights are going off from green to yellow to red. Another inside baseball thing, we changed our buzzer, yesterday. I was pushing for it to be the shot clock violation that LeBron James hears.
Nice.
Hears at the
I like that.
At the arena, but we went and did the test of it. It was so cavernous in there that it was a little too jarring to make it the shot clock. So it had to be that little ding.
And maybe next time a gong.
Yeah. And speaking of inside baseball, real quick, was Megyn Kelly affected at all by what Donald Trump said to her?
No. Megan's a true pro, and she's we went round and round about every question. I mean, we really went through every question and all scenarios about what was going to happen. And to her credit, she stuck to her guns and I think handled it well.
Yes, tell her to stop picking on Donald. All right, Bret Baier, special report, of course, 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. And great job, and we'll look forward to seeing more of this these kind of forums on Fox.
Our next one is January, before the Iowa caucuses. We have FBN has one in November in Wisconsin, and then our next bite at the apple is right before the Iowa caucuses. And I'll be on special report tonight from D.C.
Very good. Thanks so much for joining us, Bret Baier. Appreciate it.
See ya.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.